Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hudson Institute. My name is Riley Walters. I'm a senior fellow here who covers Japan and Taiwan. Thank you for joining us for our event today with Representative Yasutaka Nakasone. Representative Nakasone is, of course, a representative of Gunma's first in Japan. He is a member of Japan's lower house or House of Representatives. But also, as importantly, he is the leader of the youth division of the Liberal Democratic Party, Japan's largest political party. And if you're familiar with the Youth League of the LDP at all, you also know that the Youth League is the unofficial communication channel between Japan and Taiwan. And so that's why we've invited Representative Nakasone here today to continue this dialogue that we've had over the last several years with other prominent Japanese politicians, talking about the importance of Japan-Taiwan relations, U.S.-Japan relations, and U.S.-Japan-Taiwan relations. If you're interested in more of these efforts, you can go onto the Hudson website. There should be links on this page that'll direct you to past interviews with influential people like former Minister Keisuke Suzuki and the former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. If you've been reading the news lately, you know there's a lot going on between Japan, the People's Republic of China, with regards to Taiwan. It is an important time for Asia, the Indo-Pacific, for the way that countries are thinking about the peace and stability around Taiwan. And Japan is one of the closest to Taiwan, other than the People's Republic of China. They are quite concerned, I think, about the stability in the cross-strait relationship between Taiwan and the People's Republic of China. And so we're going to talk about quite a few things, I think, today, not just the security, but of course the importance of this of the relationship between Japan and Taiwan, how personal many in Japan feel, close ties that many in Japan feel toward Taiwan, and things that Japan might be thinking about going forward with regards to its own security, what that means for the US-Japan alliance, and of course, what that could mean for regional security as a whole. And so with that, I'm going to pass it over to Representative Nakasone. Representative Nakasone, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, my name is Yasutaka Nakasone. I'm a member of the House of Representatives of the Liberal Democratic Party of Japan. It is a tremendous honor to be invited here today, and I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the Hudson Institute for this great opportunity. The Hudson Institute is widely respected in Japan as one of the world's leading think tanks, contributing to the policy, strategy, and security debates that shape the future of global democracy. It is truly a privilege to speak at such an institute of influence and intellect. So let me allow to start with the recent moment of celebration shared by both Japan and the United States. In November, the Los Angeles Dodgers won their second consecutive World Series championship, a victory watched passionately in Japan. With three Japanese superstars, Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and Roki Sasaki, wearing Dodgers uniforms, the millions of Japanese stayed up late to follow Game 7. The victory was headline news across Japan, topping every major broadcast. Baseball is deeply loved in Japan, but the origins of this connection tell us something important about our relationship. The baseball was first introduced to Japan in 1872 by an American educator from Maine, Horace Wilson, who came to Japan to teach English. For this contribution, he was inducted into the Japanese Baseball Hall of Fame in 2003. The Japanese dream that now produces MLB MVPs began over 150 years ago with a single American teacher. So history matters. Every achievement, every alliance is built over time through relationship, sacrifice, and shared purpose. And just 2 years after baseball arrived in Japan, another historic event occurred. In 1874, Japan sent its first military mission abroad to Taiwan. That marked the beginning of a formal relationship between Japan and Taiwan. And 20 years later, after the Sino-Japanese War of 1894, the Taiwan became Japan's first overseas territory. And from 1895 to 1945, for 50 years, Japan governed Taiwan. During this period, Japan invested heavily in education, infrastructure, and economic development. Japan built the Taipei Imperial University, one of only a few imperial universities in the entire empire. When financial crisis struck, the emperor himself issued emergency decrees to protect the Taiwanese banking system. Taiwan was not merely as a labor source or a site for resource extraction. Taiwanese citizens were integrated into the project of nation building. For Japan, Taiwan is not just a strategic concern or rhetorical symbol of democracy versus authoritarianism. It is a place of historical, geographical, cultural, and emotional closeness. Taiwan is only 100 kilometers from Japan. Many Japanese still feel a deep affinity toward Taiwan that cannot easily be understood by those who only view it through the framework of geopolitical theory. If I may add a personal note, my grandfather, the former Prime Minister of Japan, Yasuhiro Nakasone, served in Taiwan as a naval officer from 1942 to 1944. The house in Taiwan where my grandfather once lived during his naval service has been carefully preserved, and it's now treated as a cultural heritage site. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to visit that place myself. And my grandfather often said during his lifetime that he wished to return there one day, but he never had the chance to do so. To be able to fulfill that wish on his behalf was a deeply moving experience for me. Moreover, as director of the youth division of the Liberal Democratic Party, the division that serves as the principal channel of communication with Taiwan, I had the opportunity to visit Taiwan and devote my efforts to strengthening Japan-Taiwan relations. So history continues to connect lives across generations. So let me now turn to the present. We are living in a time of profound transformation. Across the world, protectionism is gaining momentum. Many countries today feel a deep sense of uncertainty about the direction of the world is heading. There is growing concern about the emergence of G2 dynamic, dominated by United States and China, and whether the international order that the United States built and safeguarded after World War II may be starting to erode. Some fear that even issues of national and regional security are increasingly being reduced to matters of economic negotiation and short-term deals. In addition, the rise of social media accelerates the spread of information and disinformation, deepening polarization within societies. This is why the world needs strong and principled American leadership now, and Japan, the United States, and Taiwan, nations that share fundamental values, must strengthen cooperation more than ever before. Economic security and national security can no longer be separated. No country can secure peace or prosperity alone. We must all enhance our autonomy and indispensability and simultaneously work with trusted allies and partners to maintain regional stability. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi, Japan is pursuing a strategy to transform itself into what we call a self-reliant ally, a nation capable of standing shoulder to shoulder with the United States. So let me take a moment here to discuss some of the recent efforts Japan has undertaken. Japan is now implementing a bold industrial and national security strategy that emphasizes strategic investment and public-private collaboration. We have designated 17 strategic sectors for national prioritization, including artificial intelligence, semiconductors, quantum computing, fusion energy, shipbuilding and maritime infrastructure, national resilience and disaster protection, advanced communication and space technologies, and so on. So these investments are designed to address geopolitical risks, supply chain vulnerabilities, and demographic challenges that threaten competitiveness. Japan must secure strong foundation in supply chain, energy, food security, and science and technology. Only when Japan becomes a nation of technological and strategic strength can truly equal partnership with the United States and Taiwan exist. And it is important to remember that Japan, the United States, and Taiwan are all maritime nations. For each of us, the sea and the security of the sea lanes are not abstract strategic interests. They are matters of national survival. Our prosperity, our economic lifeline, and our national security all depend on the ability to protect and freely utilize the oceans that connect us. So Japan relies on the sea for more than 99% of its energy and food supplies, all transported through vulnerable maritime routes that pass through some of the most strategically contested waters in the world, including the East China Sea, the South China Sea, and waters around Taiwan. So Taiwan faces the same reality as an island nation at the crossroads of Indo-Pacific trade and global semiconductor production. And for the United States, as the world's leading maritime power, maintaining control and stability of sea lanes has been central to American security and global leadership for generations. Therefore, the question of how to defend the sea and how to use it strategically and cooperatively is a shared responsibility and a shared determination of our three nations. If the sea lanes were ever blocked or controlled by an authoritarian power, the consequences would be catastrophic, not only for Japan and Taiwan, but for the entire global economy. Energy shortages, food instability, disrupted supply chains, and fundamental threats to freedom and democracy would follow. So this is why I believe so strongly that Japan, the United States, and Taiwan must work together to ensure maritime freedom, strengthen naval and coast guard cooperation, advance joint shipbuilding, and reinforces resilient logistics and communications infrastructure across the Indo-Pacific. Our partnership is not theoretical. It is practical, it is urgent, and it is vital for peace. From this perspective as well, as I mentioned earlier, the shipbuilding sector is critically important for Japan. With a firm determination that a nation must build its own ships, we are moving decisively to revitalize our shipbuilding industry. So when I visited Taiwan twice this year, the message I heard repeatedly from senior officials, including President Lai, and in both the government and ruling and opposite parties, was the importance of strengthening Japan-US-Taiwan relationship. I also sensed the strong and growing concern about the potential crisis in Taiwan Strait. Therefore, I would now like to address how Japan, the United States, and Taiwan should approach a potential Taiwan contingency. Japan and Taiwan do not have formal diplomatic relations, and therefore we cannot rely on fully official government-to-government communication channels. At the same time, the United States, under the new Trump administration, may adjust its approach to Taiwan. In this environment, the long-standing policy of strategic ambiguity, once considered a tool of deterrence, has also become a source of deep uncertainty for Taiwan. This raises a serious question. Does ambiguity still deter, or does it risk inviting dangerous miscalculation? The most dangerous scenario is one in which neither side clearly understands whether the red lines lie. For this reason, we must build real, visible capability, not just rely on statements. Even without formal diplomatic ties, Japan and Taiwan can strengthen practical cooperation through parliamentary dialogue, regional partnership, cyber defense collaboration, economic security framework, and multi-layered channels for crisis communication. At the same time, Japan must reinforce its intelligence system, legal framework, and ability to act jointly with the United States and Taiwan in a real contingency. Deterrence is not created by words. Deterrence is created by preparation. So providing visible reassurance to Taiwan and visible deterrence to authoritarian power is the responsibility we share. And we must advance this work now in peacetime before any crisis begins. As mentioned above, intelligence cooperation will also be critically important element. And Japan recognizes that our intelligence system is not yet sufficient in scale or capability. For many years, Japan has faced significant challenges in its national intelligence and information security framework. These include limitations in intelligence collection capabilities, fragmented, vertically divided government ministries, a shortage of highly skilled experts, and insufficient system for safeguarding classified information, and so on. So in order to fundamentally transform and overcome these challenges, we must now undertake bold structural reforms and build a truly integrated and resilient national intelligence system. So change is underway. Under the current coalition agreement with the Japan Innovation Party, intelligence reform is moving forward. A new intelligence strategy headquarters has been established within the Liberal Democratic Party, where we will officially launch discussion on the establishment of a National Intelligence Bureau and External Intelligence Agency, as well as on the development of legislative measures related to counter-espionage law. This will create a stronger foundation for closer intelligence sharing with the United States and other like-minded partner nations. So let me end with another moment from history. In 1853, when Japan was still ruled by samurai, it was the arrival of the US East India Squadron, commanded by Commodore Matthew Perry, that opened Japan to the world. Perry's fleet anchored at Uraga, today part of Yokosuka, now home to the US 7th Fleet. The arrival of Perry forced Japan to modernize, leading to the Meiji Restoration, a turning point in Japanese history. Today, history connects us again. In Yokosuka, where Prime Minister Takaichi and President Trump recently stood side by side. And China, under President Xi Jinping, also carries its own history. China believes that it was humiliated during the modern era, losing territory and rights to Western powers, and even to Japan, which ruled Taiwan. From Taiwan's perspective, however, its history has been shaped repeatedly under the influence of major powers: Spain, the Netherlands, the Qing dynasty, and Japan. Yet, today, Taiwan has built its own distinct identity. So in the 21st century, the world must be guided by the principle of self-determination. We must never allow the Chinese Communist Party to annex Taiwan against the will of Taiwanese people. So the question is, what can we do? That is what I'm committed to thinking about seriously and acting upon with determination. So thank you very much for your kind attention, and I'm open to have your question now. Thank you very much.
Right. That was wonderful. It was really great to hear about, especially your own personal experience with Taiwan and the things that you were thinking about or the things that your government are thinking about. I have one question. You spoke about the importance of safeguarding sea lanes and the fact
Mhm.
that Japan is undergoing this effort now to rebuild its shipbuilding capabilities. Can you
Mhm.
maybe go into a little bit more about what specific actions are being pursued by the government to support these efforts?
Yes, yeah, thank you very much. The shipbuilding is one of the 17 strategic sectors I mentioned earlier. So Japan's once led the world in this industry. From the 1970s to the 1980s, Japan's shipyards held more than 50% of the global market, dominating shipbuilding worldwide. However, the situation has changed dramatically. Today, China controls about 50%, South Korea 20%, and Japan has fallen to around 10%. So our shipbuilding industry has been shrinking year after year, and many experts warn that without decisive action, it may not survive the next decade. Even Japan and American vessels are increasingly being built in China and Korea. For maritime nations, depending on a strategic competitor for the foundation of our maritime capabilities is not sustainable. So it is a serious national security risk. So this concern was raised directly in the recent summit between Prime Minister Takaichi and President Trump, and both leaders um, strongly recognized the urgency of the issue. In response, Japan is now launching a national effort to revitalize shipbuilding and maritime logistics, and I am personally engaged in leading this work. As the Director General of the LDP, Economic Security Promotion Headquarters, I'm responsible for advancing policies to rebuild Japan's shipbuilding industry. So we are establishing public-private fund of approximately 1 trillion yen to double Japan's market share to 20% within the next decade. This initiative promotes horizontal cooperation among private companies and vertical integration across the entire maritime ecosystem, from materials and components to shipyards and shipping. This is an all-Japan effort. So we're building a comprehensive maritime cluster that strengthens every element of the sector, modernizing shipyards, developing skilled workers, securing critical materials, and leading development of next-generation vessels such as ammonia-fuel ships. So these initiatives will not only revitalize Japan's shipbuilding industry, but they will also contribute significantly to the security of both Japan and the United States. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for giving us your time today. It's been so great learning from you, your experience, your knowledge, really in depth knowledge on Japan Taiwan relations, and of course, how the alliance plays into not just our bilateral relationships, but really our trilateral relationship, even
Right.
as unofficial as it can be sometimes. It's been really great having you here at Hudson Institute. I hope you will join us in person in the future, but
Yes.
please come by anytime.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much.